You're listening to a story on the Wolf Late channel. The following content is entirely fictional and a product of imagination and created for entertainment purposes only. This story is not based on real events and does not promote criminal behavior, violence, or superstition in any form. Some parts may contain crime and violence content. Viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy the story. The side character went crazy and beat up the whole family. About a month before the college entrance exam, I suddenly woke up. On the day I received the results from the third mock exam. Seeing my sky-high scores, my mother flew into a rage. She lunged at me and scolded me mercilessly. "How dare you flaunt this? Your sister didn't do well, can't you at least hold back a little for her? When will you learn to think of others?" I listened to her bitter words and could only laugh in response. In that instant, I completely lost it and went berserk right there in front of her. "Give in, give in, give in?" I screamed like a madwoman. "I'll give in so hard that her entire bloodline can ascend to the heavens. Ha! Let them all die already." My rage exploded, and I totally lost control. I collapsed to the floor, crawling and writhing on the ground like a lunatic, screaming and howling through the whole house, clutching at my hair like I wanted to tear everything apart. That third mock exam marked the beginning of my awakening. Turns out, the world I was living in was just some cheap novel, a pre-written script. Sadly, I wasn't the cherished, pampered female lead. That role had long been reserved for my frail, pitiful foster sister, Bella. Rewind to years ago, my biological parents were targeted by enemies, and their building was engulfed in flames. Bella's parents had bravely rushed into the blaze to save them, only to be crushed to death when the floor collapsed, dying heroically. Bella's mother was so devastated and traumatized that she ran away in the night after receiving the news. Out of guilt and remorse, my parents decided to adopt Bella, showering her with love and trying to make up for everything she had lost. And just like that, my entire life became a stepping stone, a sacrifice for someone else's happiness. I saw my bleak future ahead. After the brutal entrance exam, I would get accepted into Tsinghua University, a dream school for so many. But my parents, cruel as ever, would order me to give that precious admission spot to my foster sister. Of course, I refused. I resisted with everything I had. So they locked me up in the house, stripped me of all freedom. In desperation, I escaped through the window in the middle of the night, only to be hit by an oncoming car and killed. After my death, my parents changed Bella's name and identity so she could take my place and waltz right through the gates of prestigious Tsinghua. Later, they even married her to my own biological brother, turning her into the darling of the entire family. I was dead, my soul left wandering, without a home. And yet they had the audacity to gather at my grave, weeping fake tears and putting on a show. "Little sister, I'm living such a happy life. You can rest in peace now, okay? From now on, I'll be filial to mom and dad in your place, and live well with big brother." How perfect. Truly wonderful. Thinking about how I had been nothing but a pawn used and discarded, with my parents and brother all playing a part in the betrayal, I really lost my mind. That moment I stood at the door, holding my score report in my hand, stunned. It all finally made sense. I took a deep breath, forced myself to stay calm, and smiled. Everyone in life reaches a breaking point once. As soon as I stepped through the door, my mother rushed out, hurling another stream of cruel words straight at my face. "Where have you been? Your sister is feeling down, and you're out there having fun? Huh. Exactly like the script had shown me. Thinking of how I was meant to be Bella's stepping stone to glory, the fury within me boiled over again. I grabbed my hair and screamed in pure resentment. "Are you even my real mother? Why are you treating me like this? Don't I deserve any care or love? That so-called sister of mine, if she's dying, so be it. Why the hell should I care? Why does everyone always put her above me?" I kept screaming. "Are you really my birth mother? Why can't you love me like you love that Bella girl? Always telling me to give in. Give in to what? I'll give in so much that her ancestors can soar straight into the sky. Give her everything. What about me? What am I? Trash to be thrown away, is that it?" I was completely out of control, crawling across the floor, sobbing like a madwoman. My mother seemed horrified by the scene. Her face went pale, her legs rooted to the floor like she couldn't move, standing there frozen for a long while. She wanted to step forward and comfort me but hesitated, not daring to come too close. "Anna, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me, how could I not love you?" Her voice trembled, filled with worry. I lifted my head, eyes bloodshot, glaring at her without blinking. "Really? You really love me? Then why would you make your own flesh and blood daughter sacrifice everything and give it all up for an adopted one?" Seeing me about to snap again, my mother panicked and scrambled to calm me down. "Of course, you silly girl. What kind of mother wouldn't love her own daughter?" Bella was standing nearby, clearly startled by my outburst, but her mean girl instincts wouldn't let her pass up such a golden opportunity. Her eyes brimmed with fake tears as she pretended to look heartbroken. "Little sister, your mom's biological daughter. How could you doubt her love like that? If you hate me so much, I'll just leave. I don't want to cause any more trouble for everyone." Then she turned away, pretending to wipe her tears. "Take care of your health, Mom," sob sob. With that, she ran toward the door, as if terrified I might actually hurt her. My mother panicked and immediately chased after her like a madwoman, completely leaving me behind. I stared at the scene of them hugging and crying, their grief-filled sobs echoing through the house, and it felt like a bomb had gone off inside my head. Just then, the door swung open, and my idiot brother walked in. He saw me screaming like a lunatic, then glanced over at the two of them wailing dramatically in each other's arms. Instantly, he frowned and shouted at me, "Anna, are you bullying Bella again?" He rushed over to support Bella, his voice full of concern and protectiveness. "Don't be afraid. I'm here now. I'll protect you." Bella cried even harder, squeezing out a few extra tears to perfect her performance. "Brother, I know I'm not welcome here. It's okay if I leave. I don't want to be the reason everyone fights." Hearing that made him even angrier. He turned sharply toward me and shouted, "This is Bella's home. If anyone's leaving, it sure as hell won't be her." Then he turned back and comforted Bella with the gentlest voice he could muster. I suddenly remembered what I had read in the original story. My own brother was the one who helped Bella steal my identity so she could get into Tsinghua, and later, he even married her, letting her live the beautiful life that was supposed to be mine. I was his biological sister. And yet, that's how he treated me. I couldn't hold it in anymore. The rage exploded. I lunged forward, yanked Bella out of his arms, grabbed her hair, and slapped her across the face without mercy. As I hit her, I cried, I screamed. "Don't you have your own mother? Why did you steal mine? Why did you take everything from me?" 17 years of bottled-up resentment, all the pain I'd held back, erupted in a single instant. Bella screamed and struggled, her face red and swollen from my slaps. The more I hit her, the more satisfied I felt. But before I could keep going, my brother charged over and shoved me hard against the wall. "Anna, are you insane?" My entire body went numb. The pain wasn't just physical, it crushed me mentally, emotionally. It was as if some vital nerve in my brain had snapped, and I completely lost control. No thoughts, no logic, just raw, unfiltered fury. I charged at him with every ounce of hatred I had. I grabbed his hair and yanked hard, slamming his head down onto the cold floor. My hands trembled as I scratched his face, pinched his mouth, punching and sobbing at the same time. The words I had kept buried for so long burst out in a hoarse, broken scream. "I'm your real sister. Do you even understand that?" My tears fell, soaking his face. "She's pitiful? Hasn't she played the victim for over a decade already?" I choked, trying to stifle my sobs. What is there that she hasn't stolen from me? This injustice is unbearable. Your real sister, don't even deserve your love. After that outburst, I was completely drained. My arms dropped, lifeless. He lay sprawled on the floor, bruised and swollen beyond recognition. Bella, seeing me stop, rushed to his side, sobbing hysterically like she'd just lost the love of her life. I glared at her pitiful, fake expression. My rage surged again. My fists clenched involuntarily. I was about to hit her again. But as soon as I twitched, Bella shrieked in terror and ducked behind my mother for protection. My mother's face turned pale, her whole body trembling, on the verge of tears. She begged me, voice shaking. "Anna, please? I'm begging you, don't do this anymore." I waved her off, slumping down in exhaustion and staring at her with tired eyes. "What are you looking at? Aren't you going to cook dinner already?" Bella clung tightly to my mother's arm, frozen, her eyes filled with fear. I snorted and sneered. "And you, don't just stand there looking pretty. Go cut me a plate of fruit." The living room fell into an eerie silence, broken only by the weak groans of my brother, still collapsed on the floor. My father came home and witnessed the entire chaotic scene. I was lounging back in the chair, snacking like it was just another day, while my mom and the other three were huddled in a corner, crying their eyes out. His face turned ghostly pale, lips trembling in disbelief at what he was seeing. The moment he walked through the door, Bella burst into loud sobs, clearly trying to grab his attention. But my father wasn't as spineless as my brother. His expression darkened. Without a word, he slapped me hard across the face and roared at me, ordering me to get into the study and kneel for punishment. But I wasn't going to back down. That rebellious fire in me surged up even stronger. "If you don't love me, then why did you even give birth to me? If you don't beat me to death today, then one day when you're old and weak, I'll pull your oxygen tube out and burn all your ashes too." My father's rage peaked. His hands were shaking violently, as if he was on the verge of collapse. He grabbed the rattan cane and lashed it down on me, each strike sharp and searing. Amid the pain, I caught a glimpse of Bella's smug, satisfied expression. Disgusting. I was about to lose control again. I forced myself to hold back the flames of fury rising rapidly within. The next day, I deliberately wore long sleeves to school, despite the scorching summer heat. In the eyes of my homeroom teacher, I had always been a polite and well-behaved student. So the moment she saw me dressed unusually like that, her first reaction was concern. She knew for sure something must have happened to me. I felt extremely hesitant, unwilling to take off the jacket I was wearing. However, under my homeroom teacher's encouragement, perhaps even gentle coercion, I reluctantly removed the outer layer. The moment the jacket came off, all the emotions I had bottled up exploded. I burst into tears. Through my sobs, I stammered, "I'm fine, please don't ask me anything else, teacher." My homeroom teacher, someone always caring and attentive to her students, couldn't hold back her sorrow when she saw the bruises and welts clearly spread across my skin. She hugged me tightly, her tears flowing even harder than mine. Without a moment's hesitation, she immediately reported the incident to the police. In that moment, I felt a warm light, like a divine glow, radiating from her. She, my homeroom teacher, was my savior. My father was a man of status, a well-known businessman in the region. If news of domestic violence were to be exposed, his reputation and business would be severely affected. Even just the scorn and gossip from local people could be enough to ruin the career he had built over so many years. That's why I knew he wouldn't dare to lay another hand on me. When we were brought to the police station, my father's face clearly showed confusion and forced composure. He looked like he couldn't believe what he had just heard. His complexion shifted between pale and purple, so weak that I was afraid he might collapse right there. My mother looked at me with eyes full of disappointment and reproach. She asked, "Anna, how did you turn out like this? What have we done to you that you'd behave this way?" Terrified, I hid behind my homeroom teacher, crying like my family had just suffered a great tragedy or lost a loved one. "It's all my fault. I shouldn't have studied better than my sister. I made her sad. Mommy, please don't be mad at me. I won't do it again. Please don't let Dad hit me." Immediately, all the eyes in the room turned to my mother, eyes full of suspicion and judgment. Especially my teacher, her expression changed drastically, revealing both surprise and perhaps disappointment. My mother's face went from ghostly white to pale green like a leaf. She couldn't even speak to explain or defend herself. In the end, the situation concluded with my parents being forced to sign a written statement at the police station, promising not to repeat any violent behavior. On the way out, I deliberately put on a fearful act, which only made my teacher more sympathetic and heartbroken. She gently patted my head, softly comforting me, "Anna, if anything happens, just call me, okay? I'll be waiting for you at school tomorrow." Those words, my teacher had spoken them loudly, as if sending an unspoken warning to my parents. The moment we stepped out of the police station, my mother immediately burst into pitiful sobs, her demeanor like the sky was about to collapse. I couldn't hold back and sneered, "Crying again? Dad isn't even dead yet, and you're crying like that? If you keep sobbing like this, the house is going to collapse under your flood of tears sooner or later." Just then, my brother, Riven, limped down the stairs. The moment he saw me, his face turned pale with fear, and he instinctively took half a step back. I plopped down onto the familiar sofa. My father furrowed his brows, his eyes filled with a mix of anger and disappointment as he stared straight at me. "Anna," he said in a low voice, heavy with reproach, "do you even realize what you're doing? You're destroying yourself." Seeing his hesitant and cautious demeanor, I knew he no longer dared to lash out at me like he used to. I crossed my arms, raised my chin, and looked down at him with an air completely opposite from my usual timid self. "Are you questioning me?" I asked coldly, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Ever since I was a child, all the love and tenderness was given to Bella. As for me? Only harsh scoldings and endless demands. If you never intended to love me, then why did you even bring me into this world? I'm not asking for riches or anything glamorous. All I ever wanted was fairness. Just a little fairness. A long, suffocating silence followed. Finally, my father slowly opened his mouth, weighing each word with care, as if afraid that the wrong one might ignite another explosion. Then, "Tell me, what do you want?" I curled my lips into a cold smirk. "Simple. Before the university entrance exams, keep your precious son and beloved daughter far away from me. If they try to mess with me again, don't blame me for showing no mercy, for sparing no one." I paused, then locked eyes with my father, sharp and unyielding. "Also, give me the keys to the apartment near the school. I'm moving out." I wasn't the least bit afraid that he would refuse. My father was the kind of man who cared deeply about his reputation, always striving to maintain the appearance of a peaceful and harmonious family. More than anything, he didn't want outsiders to know that Bella had suffered while living under our roof. Otherwise, he wouldn't have turned a blind eye to all the bullying and oppression I had endured for so many years. He feared humiliation, feared the gossip and judgment of others more than he cared that his own daughter had to live in shame and misery. When he heard my demands, he seemed briefly stunned, as if he hadn't expected what I wanted to be so simple. "All right," he said, his voice carrying a trace of relief. "I'll hire a housekeeper to take care of you, to make sure you eat properly." No matter what, I was still his biological daughter. At the very least, he wouldn't let me suffer materially. Everything had to appear proper to preserve his image. But Riven, the arrogant brother upstairs, wasn't having it. "Dad," he shouted, his voice full of resentment. "Didn't you promise to give that apartment to Bella as a coming-of-age gift? If you give it to Anna, then where is Bella supposed to stay?" The moment I heard that, my rage exploded. I immediately shot him a death glare, a wave of murderous fury radiating off me. My father rushed up 2 steps of the staircase in panic, but I was faster. I charged straight ahead and grabbed Riven by the collar. His face turned pale, and just as he tried to flee upstairs, I yanked him back down hard. I pinned him down right there on the stairs and beat him to a pulp, making sure he vividly remembered the brutal thrashing he received yesterday. I slapped his face, scratched and pinched him, yanked his hair, screaming like a mad monkey. "Why the hell should she get it? Am I not your sister?" I screamed so loud my voice cracked with fury. "And her? Hasn't everyone in this house coddled and spoiled her enough already? I'm the biological daughter, yet I've been treated like an orphan with no parents." The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. Years of humiliation and bitterness surged like a flood. I let go of him, stormed into the kitchen, and yanked a gleaming knife off the rack. "I'm going to kill Bella right now," I hissed, eyes bloodshot, "then I'll come back and deal with every single one of you. Let's all die together and end this farce." Why did they treat me this way? Was I born just to be Bella's stepping stone to glory? Every one of them deserved to be punished. In the midst of this suffocating tension, my mother stood frozen as she watched me in my violent frenzy, her tears falling uncontrollably, but she didn't dare come any closer, probably afraid I'd actually snap. My father's face turned ghostly pale with fear. His voice trembled as he tried to defuse the situation. "Anna, please calm down. If something's wrong, we can talk it through. Put the knife down, please, your father is begging you." He kept trying to reassure me, voice trembling as he explained, "Your brother, his mind's not right, don't take his words to heart. I promised the apartment to you, and I'll keep that promise. It's yours, all right?" Hearing that, a glimmer of light flickered in my eyes, and my rage seemed to ease just a little. I let out a bitter, venomous laugh. "See that? Told you he's brain damaged." Riven, who was still lying on the floor in pain, turned purple with fury upon hearing those words. His eyes rolled back and then he passed out. Meanwhile, Bella, the mastermind behind all of this, was hiding upstairs, too afraid to utter a single word or even show her face. She didn't dare come out. Before, I kept enduring, always backing down, letting them trample all over the limits of my tolerance. But not anymore. After unleashing all that fury, I felt strangely exhilarated inside. I hummed a little tune to myself as I went upstairs to pack my things. In this family, I no longer had even a shred of hope for affection or kinship. The only thing I wanted was for them to stay the hell out of my way. Don't mess with me. Not anymore. But what I didn't expect was that even after everything, Bella still had the guts to stir up trouble. The next day at school, I noticed lots of people staring at me with strange expressions. They whispered and gossiped behind my back, and their words made my skin crawl. Could I tolerate that? Of course not. Way beyond my limit. Furious, I grabbed a nearby student and growled through clenched teeth, "What's wrong? Cat got your tongues? Spit it out already." The poor kid was so terrified, they looked like they were about to faint. Finally, under the threat in my eyes, they stammered out, everyone's saying you're mentally unstable. That you beat up your real parents, your brother and sister, nearly sent them to the hospital." The moment I heard that, I knew it was Bella spreading rumors again. I didn't even give her a chance to react. I dragged that student straight to Bella's class to settle things right then and there. "Come on, Granny's taking you to watch some drama." At that moment, Bella was sitting in her seat, pretending to look pitiful, showing off her fake injuries to the crowd around her. I didn't hold back. I stormed right over and flipped her desk in one violent motion. Bella's face went ghost white with fear. She looked around miserably, trying hard to play the innocent, like she was being bullied and wronged. But I had no patience for fakers like her. I grabbed her by the collar and dragged her toward the classroom door, yelling at the top of my lungs, "You've been running around telling people I'm mentally unstable, haven't you?" Bella's little group of friends noticed the rising tension and tried to rush in to break things up. I gripped a handful of her hair tighter and barked out, "Anyone who dares to step in, I'll beat the crap out of you. Didn't you all say I'm mentally unstable? Then I guess I don't have to take any responsibility for hitting people, do I? The crowd around us had swelled to a ridiculous size. After all, a rich girl sibling showdown was high-quality entertainment for most onlookers. I shouted louder, yanking Bella's hair tighter with every word. Listen up, everyone. My family raised Bella for over a decade, and now she's running around spreading rumors that I, the biological daughter of the Giant family, am mentally unstable. I continued shouting, so what if I hit her? She's dumb as a brick, always crying and whining, begging me not to score higher than her. Everything I have, she tries to take. And now she even wants to steal my parents? Based on what twisted logic exactly? Bella writhed in pain, tears streaming down her cheeks one after another. It's not like that, Anna, how could you say such things about me? At home you hit me, you yell at me, and I've never once complained. I'm just an adopted daughter. I would never dare do anything to hurt you. At this point, I felt my patience snap. But this was still school, I didn't want to completely lose it in front of the country's future bright-eyed youth. Threatening kids didn't exactly scream maturity. I grabbed Bella by the collar, ice cold as steel, staring her down from head to toe. Listen to yourself. Do those words even sound believable to you? That bracelet you're wearing, that dress on your body, they're all the latest limited edition releases. I sneered, and that mentally challenged older brother of yours, picking you up from school every day, everyone knows about it. Weren't you always bragging about having a big brother who's head over heels for his little sister? What, pretending to have memory loss now? I emphasized, has he ever picked me up? Even once? Has anyone ever seen it? Huh? My voice grew more confrontational. What, cat got your tongue? You're usually so slick with that mouth of yours, why so silent now? Murmurs started spreading through the crowd, fingers pointing. Everyone was stunned to find out that Bella Gine was just the adopted daughter of the Gine family. Worse yet, she had been bullying and oppressing the real biological daughter. Bella had never experienced such shame and public contempt in her entire life. She let out a miserable scream, shoved me away, and turned to flee. I wasn't the least bit worried about her running off to tattle to our parents. I clapped my hands together as if brushing off invisible dust, then turned to the crowd with a dazzling smile. Alrighty, I'm heading home to do homework now. Bye, everyone. With that, I gave a little wave of my sleeve and walked off confidently, not even a trace of regret or burden left behind. Sometimes, we really ought to learn how to put on a performance ourselves. I was already one of the top 3 students in my grade, and now, thanks to Bella's self-produced drama, I naturally rose to become the iconic figure of a strong, beautiful younger sister, tragically wronged but full of class. It wasn't until after school that I finally took out my phone to check it. Not a single missed call. That fact left me feeling somewhat disappointed. Weren't they supposed to care so much about Bella? Normally, by this time, my phone should have been blowing up, ringing non-stop with scathing insults and harsh scoldings for what I'd done. Twisted, deranged thoughts began swirling in my mind, enough to drive someone completely mad. Coincidentally, tomorrow happened to be the weekend. I figured I should make a trip home. First, I still had a few things left to pick up. Second, I wanted to lose it again, completely lose it, and vent all my pent-up anger right onto Bella's head. A few days later, a lavish party was held to celebrate my acceptance into university. My father's business partners, friends, and every single aunt and uncle in the family showed up. Not a soul was missing. One after another, they showered my parents with congratulations. Mr. Gine, you're truly blessed to have raised such an outstanding daughter. Congratulations, congratulations. Please share your secret to parenting with us. What did you feed that kid to make her so smart? My parents grinned so hard that day, their facial muscles practically cramped from all the smiling. Whether those compliments were sincere or just empty small talk, I honestly couldn't care less. I accidentally caught Bella sneaking toward the stairwell with a guy. I instantly recognized him. It was Raim, her loyal lapdog, a spoiled rich kid infamous in our area, the kind who'd do anything for her without question. The two of them slipped away together, clearly plotting something behind the scenes, definitely up to no good and almost certainly scheming to harm me in some way. I silently followed them, and soon witnessed Bella throwing herself into his arms, sobbing pathetically. She cried and pleaded, spinning lie after lie, twisting everything I'd done recently into some horrific tale of abuse, sniffling and begging for his comfort. After listening, Raim turned red with rage, swearing he'd get revenge on her behalf, no matter what. He even came up with hundreds of cruel ways to deal with me. Bella, on the other hand, kept crying pitifully while shaking her head, saying it wasn't necessary to go that far, she just wanted to teach me a lesson, so I'd know where I'd gone wrong. I was absolutely livid. Classic performance from a two-faced, female lead, straight out of a cliché drama, mean girl disguised as a damsel in distress, manipulating others to do her dirty work, all while pretending to be noble and morally superior. I stood there frozen, my mouth slightly open in disbelief at what I had just witnessed. And of course, I recorded every second of their little scheme. Something this juicy? No way I'd keep it to myself. I went straight to the event's AV technician, slipped him some money, and had him swap out the high school nostalgia montage that was supposed to be played later with my freshly recorded clip, Bella and Raim, scheming in the shadows. As for how I'd explain the footage? Easy. I'd just say it was picked up by a nearby security camera. When the video began playing, the entire party was still chatting, clueless. Then my name came up in the conversation on screen, and before anyone could fully grasp what was happening, they heard Raim listing off those vicious, graphic punishments he had in mind for me. The room fell silent. Faces went pale. Gasps and whispers started spreading like wildfire. My grandmother's face darkened instantly. She stood up and shouted, demanding the video be turned off immediately. My mother nearly fainted from the embarrassment and shock. Both my parents rushed around, frantically apologizing to every guest, trying to contain the disaster. The celebration, weeks of planning, all the pomp and show, was reduced to shambles in mere minutes. That night, my family lost not only face and reputation, but their carefully constructed illusion of harmony was shattered beyond repair. The worst part was that many of the guests at the party were key business partners of my grandmother. After this humiliating disaster, most of those valuable connections would likely fall apart one by one, casting a heavy shadow over her career and reputation. My grandfather let out a cold, contemptuous snort before slamming his cane against the floor with a thunderous thud. He roared, "Everyone, come in here. Now." The moment we stepped into the room, his fury erupted. Without warning, he raised his cane and struck my father hard across the back. The blow was so powerful it sent him stumbling, barely managing to keep his balance. My grandmother pulled me into her arms, holding me tightly as her tears fell like rain. She sobbed uncontrollably, like a mother mourning her own child. "Oh, my poor girl. If I had known back then that she would torment you like this, I swear on my life, I would never have allowed them to bring that girl into this family." My mother, caught in the storm of shame and accusations, stammered as she tried to defend Bella in a weak, trembling voice. Mom, no, that's not how it is. Bella must have been manipulated by someone. She's not that kind of person, really. It was that boy, he must have tricked her into doing all those awful things. Bella would never act like that on her own. And besides, what happened a few days ago, Anna was the one who got violent first. Bella was just defending herself. What a joke. My mother's bias toward her adopted daughter was so deeply ingrained, it was beyond any hope of redemption. No matter how glaring the truth was, she still bent over backwards to justify Bella's actions, clinging to that twisted version of reality she'd built in her head. I clung tightly to my grandmother, sobbing uncontrollably, tears streaming down my face. "Grandma, you don't understand. Mom forced me to hand over my acceptance letter to Tsinghua, the prestigious university I worked so hard to get into. She made me give it all to Bella, even my name, my real identity. Anna, that's the name you and Grandpa gave me when I was just a baby." I must have looked so pitiful in that moment, so utterly broken, that even stray dogs and cats on the street would have wept at the sight of me. Upon hearing this, my grandfather's hands trembled violently with rage. He shouted, his voice thundering across the room, "My God. Bella's parents helped you once, and you repay that kindness by doing this? How could you burden Anna with your so-called debt? She's your real daughter. What sin did she commit to deserve this? If you're so desperate to repay a favor, then do it yourselves. Don't use your daughter's entire future as some pathetic offering." The grand celebration meant to honor my college admission had now turned into a pathetic, scandalous joke for the whole world to mock. My mother collapsed onto the floor, weeping bitterly. On one side was the adopted daughter she had loved and protected with all her heart, and on the other was the biological daughter she gave birth to, me. She looked up at me with an expression that carried a flicker of guilt, but I saw through it instantly. No matter what she said, no matter what excuses she made, deep down, Bella would always be the one she cherished most. Bella was the daughter she placed above all else. And I, her real daughter, was just the inconvenient truth she kept trying to erase. If I hadn't foreseen that dark and tragic future, I probably would have been dead by now. Grandma firmly demanded that my mother kick Bella out of the house immediately. After all, she was already 18 years old, and the debt of gratitude our family owed hers had long been repaid. But my mother stubbornly refused, so did my father. Both of them went out of their way to defend her. My father adopted Bella partly to repay the kindness her family had shown us in the past, but more deeply, she was a pawn in his carefully calculated business plans. He wanted to build a pristine image for himself, to show the world that he was a man of gratitude, honor, and compassion, a perfect gentleman in every sense of the word. After several heated discussions, all parties involved finally reached a mutual agreement where each person's rights and responsibilities were clearly laid out. According to that agreement, Bella would be allowed to remain with the Gine family, but she would have no right to any of the family's assets. In return, my father was required to begin the process of transferring half of the current real estate holdings to me. Moreover, all company shares would be handed over to me once I reached the legal age. Until then, the Gine family would temporarily manage the shares, holding them in trust until I officially joined the family business. The moment Bella walked into the room, Grandma couldn't hold back her fury any longer. Without a word of warning, she raised her hand and slapped Bella hard across the face. "You ungrateful little wretch. The Gine family has raised you for all these years, and this is how you repay us? By plotting to harm my granddaughter?" Her voice echoed through the house, sharp and filled with righteous anger. The slap hit Bella so suddenly she froze in place, too stunned to react. She clutched her cheek tightly, eyes wide in shock and disbelief, staring at my grandmother as if she couldn't believe what had just happened. What did you just say, Grandma?" Bella stammered in disbelief, then turned to Riven with pleading eyes, silently begging for help. Gritting his teeth, Riven quickly stepped forward to shield Bella from Grandma's wrath. "If you're unhappy, Grandma," he said firmly, "then take it out on me." "Riven, Anna is your biological sister," Grandma said, her voice heavy with sorrow. Even so, her heart ached too much to truly lash out at the grandson she had loved so dearly for so long. I looked at Grandma, and of course, I wouldn't miss this chance. I added fuel to the fire. "Big sister," I said softly, my voice trembling with fear, "I know you don't like me, but how could you conspire with outsiders to hurt me like this?" As I spoke, I pretended to shake in fear. "Grandma, I'm so scared." Bella's face turned ghostly pale. She stammered, completely lost for words. "Anna, what are you saying? How could I ever hurt you?" "Enough!" Riven roared. "She's already lost her mind and caused chaos at home, now she wants to kick Bella out too." There it was again, that lunatic yelling like I was some cold-blooded killer. "Get out, all of you, get out of my sight!" Grandma shouted, trembling with fury. She pointed directly at Bella, banishing her without the slightest mercy. "Grandma!" Riven protested, unwilling to back down. "You too," Grandma growled, eyes blazing. "You get out with her." She didn't give anyone a chance to argue. Upon hearing that, Riven fell silent. Without another word, he took Bella's hand and led her away from the house. From that moment on, I officially evolved into a true demon queen in this household. Anyone who crossed paths with me would step back in fear, daring not to provoke me. That summer break of mine was absolutely amazing. Too amazing, in fact. I bossed Bella around like a servant, and I shouted at Riven like he was a dog. But I never imagined that Raim would be so reckless and bold as to kidnap me in broad daylight, right after I left the house. He forced me into a rundown motel, someplace I never thought I'd end up. Inside that shabby room, a group of guys with bleached hair and thuggish looks were already waiting. The moment they saw me, they began tossing out disgusting and obscene jokes without hesitation. Raim barked out orders, "You, record everything. The rest of you, strip her down." Then, in a sickeningly vulgar tone, he added, "I bet you've never touched someone this pretty before, huh? Don't worry, you'll all get your shot at teaching her a lesson." He reached out, he grabbed at my clothes aggressively, trying to tear them. Raim's cruelty went far beyond anything I had imagined. He didn't just want to humiliate me, he planned to destroy me completely, dragging others in to help ruin my life. I tried to stay calm, digging my nails into my palms to ease the rising panic. I gathered my courage and asked, "Was it Bella who told you to do this?" My question made him pause. A flicker of panic flashed across his face, and his voice cracked as he stammered, What the hell are you talking about? Who's Bella? I don't even know her." The more he tried to deny it, the more obvious the guilt in his tone became. He shouted again, "Even if you scream your lungs out, no one's going to help you." I stared at him like he was an idiot. Either he had a mental illness or he was just plain dumb. How else could anyone say something so moronic? Keeping my voice cold and emotionless, I said, "I already called the police." That sent the group of boys into a panic. They were probably just high school kids who thought this was some edgy stunt. I went on, piling on the pressure. "Also, don't forget, I'm underage. You're looking at charges of kidnapping, attempted assault, and threatening a minor. Think carefully, how many years in prison does that add up to?" Their faces went pale with fear. Raim turned beet red, at a loss for words. He kicked one of the bleached hair guys and yelled, "What are you standing around for? Untie her, now." Then he turned to me, trying to explain himself. We weren't kidnapping you. What are you talking about? We're just old classmates catching up, that's all." Of course, Raim wasn't stupid enough to admit to a crime like that. But it wasn't over yet. As soon as I was untied, I rubbed my wrists, gauged my strength, and then slapped myself, twice, hard. I ripped my shirt, pulled up my own hair, and used my nails to scratch at my skin, making fake injuries to look like I'd been attacked. I got so deep into character that I became completely immersed in my own performance. The bleached hair boys stared at me in confusion, clearly unsure what I was doing. Right then, I heard urgent footsteps outside. I screamed at the top of my lungs, trying to draw attention. "Help! Please help me! Don't come near!" The commotion outside grew louder, more chaotic. A second later, the door to the motel room was kicked open by the police. And the very first thing they saw was me, curled up in a corner, my body covered in bruises. A young female officer, clearly still new to the job, rushed to me with tears welling up in her eyes. She helped me to my feet, her voice trembling with concern. "Sweetheart, did they touch you? Are you hurt anywhere?" Meanwhile, Raym and his gang of bleached hair boys were already handcuffed and forced to stand still, staring at me in shock. They yelled over each other, shouting that it was all staged by me, that they never laid a hand on me. Who would believe such pathetic lies? I'm a young girl, how could I possibly drag a bunch of grown boys into a motel room by myself and assault myself? That's just ridiculous. Raym shouted until he was hoarse, his eyes darting in my direction as he loudly bragged about who his father was, trying to intimidate everyone. But the more arrogant he got, the tighter the police fastened the cuffs on his wrists. His cocky attitude only made things worse. My parents rushed to the scene the moment they heard what had happened. The second she saw me, my mother broke down crying. I quickly raised my hand and covered her mouth, my tone ice cold. "Be quiet. That's enough. Save your theatrics." I couldn't understand how she still had so many tears left to cry, it was like an entire river pouring out of her eyes. The police reviewed surveillance footage taken from the cameras outside my house, and sure enough, it clearly showed Raym kidnapping me. On top of that, I handed over the clip where he and Bella discussed how they'd planned to ruin me. No matter how rich his father was, there was no hiding the severity of this crime. The charges were undeniable. Kidnapping and attempted assault of a minor, no matter how far you run, the law will catch up with you. The only regret was that, in the video, Bella never explicitly said what she intended to do to me. Because of that, the evidence wasn't solid enough to convict her of a crime. Raym truly was nothing more than a loyal dog to Bella. He claimed everything had been his own idea and that she had nothing to do with it. His father was so furious he looked like he might explode, but there was nothing he could do to me since I was the victim. All he could do was vent his rage on Bella instead. If Raym was that obsessed with her, then they should just force her to marry him as soon as she turned legal. Of course, Bella didn't dare. She sobbed and begged my parents to save her from such a terrifying future. But Raym's family wasn't the kind of people ours could afford to offend. My mother cried and blamed me for making such a big deal out of everything. Even my brother was so enraged he nearly tried to hit me. Bella cried like her heart was being ripped out. "Mom, big brother, I don't want to marry him. I don't want to," she pleaded. "I didn't tell him to do any of this. I didn't know anything." "But Mom, if I hadn't called the police that night, would I have deserved to be kidnapped, assaulted, and have my entire life destroyed? Are you really my mother?" I asked, my voice calm, eerily calm, with not a trace of rage. My mother opened her mouth but no words came out. Her eyes darted away from mine, unable to meet my gaze. And then that idiot Riven blurted out the most tone-deaf thing ever. "Well, nothing happened to you in the end, right?" I stared at him in disbelief, as if I were looking at some creature from another planet. The only reason I'm still safe is because I had the brains and the strength to defend myself, not because Raym suddenly had a change of heart and let me go out of kindness. But with minds as small as theirs, maybe they'd never understand something that simple in their entire lives. Bella, though clearly unwilling, was still dragged away by members of Raym's family. As for Raym, he was now rotting in jail. Do you think his father would let Bella off the hook so easily? Of course not. After that horrifying night, I packed my things and left that dreadful house for good. When the day of enrollment finally arrived, I dragged my heavy suitcase out of the city filled with painful memories and boarded the train of destiny alone to begin a new life. Embracing the first light of dawn, I stepped onto the plane, carrying with me hope and a firm resolve to change my fate. Much later, I learned from my cousin about the terrible events that had unfolded back home. Bella was forced to marry into Raym's family, and day after day, she endured endless humiliation and abuse, until she was driven to the brink of insanity. She would often call Riven in tears, lamenting the hellish life she had to endure. Riven, who had always doted on her like a princess, couldn't bear to see her suffer. So he decided to run away with her, planning to flee the country and escape pursuit. But their plan was quickly discovered by Raym's father. While being hunted down in a panic, they were involved in a serious car accident. Riven had both legs broken on the spot, while Bella, protected by him, suffered only minor scratches and extreme trauma. My brother, once the proud heir of the family, now had to face a dark and hopeless future. Bound to a wheelchair for life, how could he possibly accept such a cruel fate? After waking up and realizing his condition, Riven poured all his hatred onto me. But I was far away in another city, beyond his reach. All he could do was go crazy at our parents. Later, he turned on Bella, constantly screaming at her and lashing out violently, using her as a punching bag to vent his fury. No matter how much my parents had once pitied and loved Bella, she could never compare to their affection for their biological son. My mother even became more ruthless, coming up with all kinds of ways to make Bella suffer. Bella tried to escape twice, but each time she was caught and punished. From a beloved heroine spoiled by the entire family, she had now become the tragic female lead in her own painful story. I was incredibly satisfied with this ending. Didn't Riven and Bella love each other so deeply they claimed they'd die for one another? Then let them stay bound together in their own personal hell. That's exactly what they deserve. A beautiful, fulfilling life filled with happiness and meaning was always supposed to be mine. It's something I've always longed for and is now waiting ahead, ready for me to discover and conquer. It's not some unreachable dream, but a real potential, a chance that only needs my effort, perseverance, and determination to become a reality. All the wonderful things in life, the joy and success I dreamed of, are within reach, so long as I have the courage to step forward and claim them. That bright future, full of rich experiences and unforgettable memories, is welcoming me with open arms, and I truly believe I deserve to live a life like that. And that's the end of today's video. And once again, this video contains fictional horror content involving violence and crime themes. All characters and events are entirely fictional and created for storytelling and entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. And that wraps up today's storytime video. Wolf thanks you all so much for supporting this content. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more storytelling videos from Wolf. See you next time.